Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything, you guys. Watch the video and feel it. Then let's evaluate together. Newark. New Jersey was a city that sang jazz riffs, spilling from hole-in-the-wall clubs, the sizzle of cornbread from street vendors, and the pulse of life in every red brick row house. Harper Lane called it home. Her roots sunk deep in its gritty, vibrant soil. At 25, she was a freelancer scraping by, juggling graphic design gigs to chip away at a mountain of student debt. With her natural curls bouncing and brown eyes bright with mischief, Harper lived by one rule, wing it, then deal with the mess later. That's how she ended up hauling a beat-up suitcase through the iron gates of the Whitaker estate in Morristown. Her temporary gig as a housemaid, a desperate grab at cash. "If I break anything here," she muttered, eyeing the mansion's gleaming windows, "I'm selling my kidney to pay for it." The estate loomed like a fortress, its stone facade polished to a shine, surrounded by manicured gardens that screamed old money. Harper adjusted the silver charm necklace her mother Amara had given her, a small etched pendant that felt like a piece of Newark's heart against her skin. She hummed Ella Fitzgerald's "Summertime," the melody steadying her nerves as she stepped through the creaking gate, feeling like a superhero without a cape. Inside, the air was cool, scented with lemon polish and wealth. Mrs. Mildred, the housekeeper, greeted her with a glare sharper than a butcher's knife, her gray bun tight as her expression. "You're Harper Lane, I presume?" Mildred said, her voice flat like she was reading an eviction notice. Her eyes raked over Harper's faded jeans and t-shirt, lingering on her curls with a hint of disdain. "Don't expect Mr. Whitaker to go easy on you, girl from Newark." Harper flashed a grin, undaunted. "I don't need easy, ma'am. I just need him to pay me on time." Her tone was light, but her chin lifted, a quiet defiance rooted in years of navigating judgment as a black woman in spaces that weren't built for her. Mildred sniffed, unimpressed, and led her down a marble hallway so polished Harper feared she'd slip and faceplant. Chandeliers glittered overhead, casting prisms of light, and every vase, painting, and rug looked like it cost more than her entire life. "Don't touch anything unless I say so." Mildred snapped Mr. Whitaker's in his study. "Take him his coffee. Black. No sugar. White porcelain cup. Don't mess it up." Harper nodded, but in her head she was thinking, "Black coffee, no sugar. This guy must feed on misery." Mildred pointed to a silver tray on the kitchen counter, and Harper grabbed it, balancing the delicate cup like it was a bomb. She climbed the spiral staircase with the focus of an Olympic gymnast, her sneakers squeaking faintly on the polished wood. Don't trip," she whispered, her curls bouncing with each step. But Harper being Harper, fate was never on her side. Just as she reached the top, the study door flew open, and a tall figure stormed out like a hurricane. "Oh, crap!" Harper yelped, the tray tipping black coffee splattered across a stack of papers in the man's hands, the porcelain cup shattering on the floor with a sickening crash. Time slowed as the dark liquid soaked pristine white pages, and Harper's eyes met his. Damon Whitaker, no doubt, broad-shouldered in a tailored black suit that screamed power. His dark hair slicked back, his brown eyes cold as a Jersey winter. His stare could have frozen lava, pinning her in place. "I'm so sorry," Harper stammered, dropping to her knees to grab the broken pieces, her hands shaking. "I didn't mean to. Oh God, I'll pay for it. Okay, maybe not, but I'll mop, or something." She avoided looking at the ruined documents, her heart pounding like a drum line at a Newark street festival. Damon said nothing, his silence more terrifying than a scream. The papers dripped and his jaw tightened, a muscle ticking under his skin. Finally, his voice cut through, deep and icy. "Who are you, and why did you just destroy $1 million contract?" Harper shot to her feet, hands on hips, forgetting her place in the heat of the moment. "Destroy" you came barreling out like a race car. How was I supposed to dodge that? And who keeps $1,000,000 papers lying around? Are they gold-plated? Her voice was sharp, laced with Newark grit, and she tilted her chin, refusing to cower. His eyes narrowed clearly, unaccustomed to defiance. "You're the new maid," he said. More a statement than a question. "I told Mildred I didn't need another disaster." "Disaster?" Harper laughed, her heart still racing, but her fire unquenched. "If I'm a disaster, you're a walking hazard zone, who opens a door like they're fleeing a zombie apocalypse." Damon stared, a flicker of something, curiosity, maybe breaking through his frost. "You're bold." "Harper Lane," he said, his voice low, almost amused. "But next time you spill my coffee, it's coming out of your pay." She smirked, crossing her arms. "Next time don't crash into me, Mr. Lawyer." "Deal." He shook his head, a faint twitch at his lips, and retreated to his study, leaving Harper standing amid broken porcelain, her pulse hammering. She'd survived her first clash with Damon Whitaker, but the spark in his eyes told her this was only the beginning. Game on, she thought, a grin tugging at her lips. The first week at the Whitaker estate was a crash course in survival. Harper learned to navigate Mildred's icy commands and the mansion's endless rules: no fingerprints on the marble, no dust on the chandeliers, no breathing too loudly near the antique vases. She kept her humor intact, humming jazz tunes and muttering Nicky Giovanni's lines to herself. "I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal." It was her mantra, a shield against Mildred's sneers and the creeping fear that she didn't belong in this world of wealth. Damon was a ghost, appearing only in flashes, striding through the hall with a phone to his ear, his deep voice barking orders, or sitting in his study surrounded by papers that probably cost more than her apartment. But every time their paths crossed, his eyes lingered sharp and unreadable, making her skin prickle. She told herself it was nothing, just her imagination, but the memory of their clash kept her on edge, like she was waiting for round two. That moment came on her third day in the worst way possible. The evening air was cool, carrying the scent of cut grass through the kitchen's open window. Harper was wiping down the counters, swaying to a mental replay of summertime, her dish towel twirling like a stage prop. The mansion was quiet. Mildred had gone to bed, and Damon was holed up in his study, probably plotting world domination. Then the front door burst open, followed by unsteady footsteps and a raspy voice. "Lydia, you came back." Harper froze, spinning around. Damon. Whitaker stood in the doorway, his blazer, crook tie askew, dark hair falling into his eyes like he'd walked through a storm. His usually sharp brown eyes were dazed, glassy, reeking of wine. Harper's brow furrowed. "Who the hell is Lydia, and why is he looking at me like I'm his long-lost love?" "Sir, you okay?" she asked, clutching the towel like a shield, her voice cautious but laced with Newark sass. Damon staggered forward, the scent of Pinot Noir trailing him, making Harper wrinkle her nose. "Okay, you're here, Lydia," he murmured, his voice soft, velvet smooth, but his eyes looked through her, seeing someone else entirely. "I knew you'd come back." Before Harper could process, he stepped closer, his hand landing on her shoulder, warm and unsteady. Then he leaned in and kissed her. Time froze. His lips were hot, tasting of wine, and want his breath mingling with hers in the quiet kitchen. The low Suoi's glow bathed them, casting shadows on Harper's skin, her curls a dark halo. His other hand slid to her waist, fingers pressing through her apron, tracing the curve of her hip with a hunger that sent a jolt through her. The tick of the kitchen clock faded, replaced by the thud of her heart, loud as a Newark drumline. For a split second, panic gave way to something else. A spark, a heat she didn't want to name. Then reality crashed in. He's my boss, and he thinks I'm someone else. Harper's instincts kicked into overdrive. She shoved him back and slapped him, the crack echoing like a gunshot. Damon staggered, hand to his cheek. the dreamy haze in his eyes replaced by shock. "What the hell was that?" he stammered, sobering fast. "What was that?" Harper shouted, face flushed with fury, and something she refused to admit was thrill. "You just kissed me without asking, you drunk maniac. I'm not Lydia or whoever broke your sad lawyer heart. I'm Harper, your maid, and you crossed a line." She jabbed a finger at him, her voice shaking, but her chin high, unyielding. Damon blinked like he'd just landed on another planet. "Harper," he murmured, rubbing his cheek, the red handprint blooming under his fingers. "Kissed you?" "Correct," Harper snapped, arms crossed, her heart still racing. "And I slapped you because you deserved it. Now go to bed before I give you another one." He stared, his expression a mix of confusion and something softer, unreadable. Without another word, he turned and stumbled up the stairs, leaving Harper alone, her pulse hammering and a strange flutter in her chest. She muttered to herself, "I just slapped my boss. I'm so fired." But as she cleaned up the kitchen, the memory of his lips' warm, urgent tasting of wine lingered, a dangerous whisper she couldn't shake. The next morning, Harper tiptoed into the kitchen like a prisoner awaiting sentencing, braced for Mildred's firing squad or Damon's icy dismissal. Instead, she found Damon at the breakfast table, a mug of black coffee in hand, the faint red handprint still glowing on his cheek. His white shirt was crisp hair combed, but his eyes were different, not cold, but embarrassed, almost human. "Good morning, Miss Lane," he said, his voice deep rough from a hangover. "Sit. We need to talk." Harper swallowed, gripping the table's edge as she sat, her denim skirt suddenly feeling too casual for this moment. "If you're firing me, just say it. I'll pack in 5 minutes." Damon raised an eyebrow, a faint smirk, brushing his lips, the first time she'd seen him smile, even if it was barely there. "Fire you, not planning on it. But we need to clear the air about last night." Harper blushed, her guard up. "Clear. You kissed me. I slapped you. Crystal clear. If you're expecting an apology for the slap. Forget it." He took a sip of coffee, eyes locked on hers, steady and unnerving. "I don't want an apology. I owe you one. I was drunk, mistook you for someone else. It won't happen again." His voice was sincere, but his gaze lingered a spark of curiosity in it. Harper cleared her throat, trying to keep her cool. "Good. Then we're even. I'll forget it. And you should too. And for the love of jazz, never call me Lydia again." Damon's lips twitched, a hint of amusement breaking through. "You've got quite a slap. Harper Lane," he murmured, his voice low, almost teasing. "But I'm not sure I'll forget that moment so easily." Her mouth dropped open. Is he flirting? Mr. Ice King knows how to flirt. She shot to her feet, pointing at him, her face hot. "Don't you dare play games with me. I'm going to mop the floors and you stay out of my way." She spun on her heel, hiding the smile creeping onto her lips as she stormed out. Damon watched her go, his hand brushing his cheek where the sting had faded. But the memory hadn't. For the first time in years, the mansion didn't feel like a tomb. It felt alive, and Harper Lane, bold, clumsy, and unapologetically real, was the reason why. That evening, at a formal dinner in the dining hall, Harper served wine to a room of Morristown's elite, her apron crisp, but her nerves frayed. The guests, in their tailored suits and glittering gowns, barely glanced at her, their chatter filled with talk of mergers and estates. Then Vanessa Reed sauntered in, a sleek lawyer in a red dress, her smile sharp as a blade. She eyed Harper like a predator sizing up prey. "So you're the new help?" she purred loud enough for the room to hear. "A Newark girl in Morristown. How quaint. Don't break anything, dear." Harper's jaw clenched, but she flashed a grin, her Newark fire unquenched. "Don't worry, ma'am. I only break things when people get in my way, like, say, spilling wine on a red dress." The room tittered, and Vanessa's smile froze, her eyes narrowing. Damon, seated at the head of the table, watched the exchange, his gaze flicking between Harper's defiance and Vanessa's venom. "Miss Lane," he said, his voice calm, but carrying weight. "Another glass for our guest, please." His eyes met Harper's, a silent acknowledgement that sent a shiver down her spine. As she poured, Harper overheard Mildred muttering to a guest about Lydia, Damon's ex-fiancée, and how he'd never gotten over her. The words hit like a punch, stirring doubt. Was that kiss just a drunken mistake? A ghost of Lydia haunting him? Back in the kitchen, Harper leaned against the counter, the low soy's glow warming her skin. She whispered Nicky Giovanni's words to herself. "I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal." She wasn't Lydia, and she wouldn't let Damon or anyone make her feel less. But as she glanced at the study door, the memory of his lips, his touch burned bright, and she knew this game was far from over. The Morristown mansion was a maze of marble and silence, its polished halls echoing with the weight of wealth. Harper Lane navigated it like a tightrope walker, her sneakers squeaking faintly on the floors as she dusted vases that probably cost more than her Newark apartment. A week had passed since the kitchen fiasco, the spilled coffee, the drunken kiss, the slap that still burned in her memory. That night, Damon Whitaker's lips had seared into her, his wine-soaked breath and sandalwood cologne leaving a mark she couldn't scrub away. The kiss contract he'd proposed, a playful debt for her. Slap was absurd, but Harper's pride wouldn't let her back down. She'd agreed to one kiss to settle things with the condition that every mistake she made would cost another game on Mr. Lawyer, she thought. But the flutter in her chest told her this was no ordinary game. Harper leaned against the kitchen counter, wiping her hands on her apron, the scent of cornbread lingering from the batch she'd baked to keep her sanity, her silver charm necklace a gift from her mother. Amara glinted under the low soy's glow, a reminder of Newark's grit and her own resilience. She hummed Ella Fitzgerald's "Summertime" the jazz melody, grounding her, but her mind kept drifting to Damon, his cold brown eyes that softened when she snapped back his rare smirk that made her want to slap him and kiss him all at once. "Get it together, Harper," she muttered, shaking her head. "He's your boss, not your Prince Charming." Her phone buzzed, Nia Carter's name lighting up the screen. Harper grinned, answering with a mock groan. "Nia, if you're calling to drag me to another jazz night, I'm broke." Nia's laugh was warm, laced with Newark swagger. "Girl, you're living in a castle now, and you're still broke. Nah, I'm checking on you. Word on the street is that Vanessa Reed's talking trash, saying you're Damon's little plaything. What's the tea with Mr. Ice King?" Harper's stomach twisted, the memory of Vanessa's venom at the dinner party stinging fresh. "She's just jealous. Her red dress didn't get her an invite to his heart," Harper said, keeping her tone light. "As for Damon, it's complicated. He kissed me. I slapped him, and now we've got this stupid deal where I owe him kisses for screwing up. It's a mess." Nia's voice turned serious. "A kiss deal, Harper? You're playing with fire. Rich guys like him don't fall for girls like us. They toy with us. Protect your heart, sis." "I'm not falling for anybody," Harper lied, her fingers brushing the charm necklace. "I'm just trying to keep this job and not break anything else." "Uh-huh," Nia said, unconvinced. "I'm coming by tomorrow to see this mansion for myself. Stay sharp." "Okay." The call ended, but Nia's warning lingered, a cold splash of reality. Harper wasn't here to win Damon's heart. She was here to pay her bills. But the way his eyes lingered, the way her pulse raced when he was near, told a different story. She pushed the thought away, grabbing a mop to tackle the dining room, determined to be the perfect maid and avoid any more kiss debts. Her resolve lasted exactly 2 hours. While polishing the dining table, she accidentally left a faint water streak on the glass, a silent dare to see if Damon would notice. Sure enough, he appeared like a hawk, his tailored gray suit sharp, his dark hair catching the chandelier's light. "Miss Lane," he said, his voice low, deliberate. "You did that on purpose, didn't you?" Harper crossed her arms, her curls bouncing as she tilted her chin. "Did what? I'm just a clumsy maid, remember? Isn't that what you said?" Her tone was playful, but her heart thudded, waiting for his move. Damon stepped closer, close enough that she caught the woodsy scent of his cologne, his brown eyes gleaming with a dangerous spark. Water streaks on the table coffee cup off its coaster, and I'd bet my fern's drowning in the parlor. "What game are you playing, Harper?" She swallowed her defiance, wavering under his gaze. "Game. I'm just doing my job. If you want to settle accounts, go ahead. One kiss, right? Cheek or forehead. Pick fast before I change my mind." He chuckled, a deep, warm sound that sent a shiver down her spine. "You think I'm that predictable?" He pulled out a small notebook, jotting something with maddening calm. "Mistake number 1. I'm not collecting now. Miss Lane, I'm accumulating." Harper's jaw dropped. "Accumulating? This isn't a bank. You can't just collect kisses like they're reward points." "I can," he said, his lips curling into a sly smile. "I'm a lawyer. I'm very good at collecting debts. When the time comes, you'll pay." He turned, leaving her fuming, her face hot with a mix of fury and something she refused to name. The kiss game turned the mansion into a battlefield of wits. Harper doubled down, trying to be flawless. Floors, sparkling towels aligned, coffee brewed to black, no-sugar perfection. But her Newark-born clumsiness betrayed her. On day 2, she forgot to close a window, and a breeze scattered Damon's papers. He appeared with that notebook, noting mistake number 2 with a smirk that made her want to throw a dish towel at him. She marched over, planted a lightning-fast kiss on his cheek, and snapped, "Happy now, boss man. Go away." His skin was warm under her lips, and she bolted to the kitchen, her heart racing like she'd run a marathon. Day 3. She put a dash of sugar in his coffee, knowing he hated it. He sipped, raised an eyebrow, and added mistake number 3 to his tally, his eyes dancing with amusement. "You're making this too easy, Harper," he teased, leaning close enough that his cologne enveloped her. She kissed his forehead, avoiding his gaze, muttering, "You're the worst." But the air between them crackled, each kiss shifting something, making the game feel less like a joke and more like a dare. Neither wanted to lose. Harper's resolve was tested when Lila Brooks, a Morristown editor, emailed her, "I'm curating a feature on urban communities. Write a piece about Newark's cultural heartbeat. Jazz food people. Impress me, and it's a paid gig." Harper's heart leaped, but Lila's tone, professional, skeptical, felt like a challenge to prove herself as a black woman in a white-dominated field. She threw herself into research, sketching notes about Newark's jazz clubs and cornbread stands, but the pressure gnawed at her. Could she really belong in a world beyond this mansion? Damon upped the stakes by inviting her to a charity gala in Asbury Park, a seaside town known for its boardwalk and rock and roll soul. "You're coming as my guest," he said, his voice casual but his eyes intense. "Wear something nice." Harper rolled her eyes. "Guest? Or am I serving drinks in a fancy dress?" He smirked, a rare dimple flashing. "Guest unless you want to owe me another kiss for arguing." She borrowed a navy dress from Nia, its silk, hugging her curves, her curls loose, the silver charm necklace glinting against her skin. At Asbury Park, the boardwalk buzzed with life arcade lights, flashing the scent of saltwater taffy, mingling with the sea's briny tang. The gala was held in a beachfront pavilion, lanterns casting a warm glow, a jazz band playing soft riffs that reminded Harper of Newark. She felt out of place among the glittering crowd, but Damon stayed close, introducing her as Harper Lane, not the maid, his hand brushing her back. Sending sparks through her, Vanessa appeared, her emerald gown catching the light, her smile sharp. Harper still playing dress-up. She purred loud enough for guests to turn. A Newark girl in Asbury Park. Don't trip over your heels. Dear. Harper's jaw clenched, but she grinned, her Newark fire blazing. Better tripping in heels than tripping over my own ego. Vanessa red's not your color, by the way. Laughter rippled, and Vanessa's eyes narrowed, but she retreated her venom. No match for Harper's wit. Damon guided Harper to the boardwalk's edge away from the crowd, the sunset painting the sky in fiery oranges and pinks. They sat on a bench, the waves crashing below their rhythm, a soft counterpoint to her racing heart. Brushed hers, and neither moved, the heat of his touch lingering. You handled Vanessa well, he said, his voice low, his eyes tracing her face, catching the way the light danced on her skin. She's not my first bully, Harper said, her tone lighter than she felt. Newark taught me to hit back with words. She paused, then took a risk. Who's Lydia? Damon Mildred keeps whispering her name like she's a ghost. He stiffened his gaze, dropping to the sea. Lydia was my fiancée, he said, voice rough. She left me a week before our wedding because she loved someone else, said I was too cold, too focused on work. I don't blame her, but it taught me not to trust easy. Harper's chest tightened, not with jealousy, but with a pang for the man behind the ice. You're not cold, she said softly, her hand brushing his, her fingers grazing his knuckles, feeling the warmth of his skin. You're just guarded, but you don't scare me. He turned his eyes, locking on hers, dark and searching. The sunset bathed them, her curls glowing, his face softened by the light. His hand covered hers, his thumb tracing her wrist, sending a shiver through her. You're dangerous. Harper Lane, he murmured, leaning closer, his breath hot against her cheek, carrying the faint scent of his cologne, sandalwood and cedar. The wave's rhythm faded, replaced by the thud of her heart, loud as a Newark drumline. For a moment she thought he'd kiss her, his lips hovering near hers, the air thick with want. Her fingers tightened on his, her breath catching a soft sound, escaping her lips. But he pulled back, his voice husky. Not yet. I'm still collecting. Harper blinked, flustered, yanking her hand away. You and your stupid notebook, she snapped, standing, her face hot. Keep your tally, but I'm not making it easy. She stormed off, her heart pounding the ghost of his touch, lingering like a melody she couldn't shake. Back at the mansion, Marcus Tate, Damon's best friend and fellow lawyer, caught Harper in the kitchen, his warm smile a contrast to Damon's frost. You're shaking things up around here, he said, his tone kind but cautious. But be careful with Damon. Lydia broke him when she left. He hasn't been the same. Harper's stomach twisted, Marcus's words stirring doubt. I'm not trying to fix him, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. I'm just here. Marcus nodded, but his eyes lingered a warning. Just don't get hurt. Harper. That night, Harper stood in the dining room polishing silverware, the chandelier's light casting prisms on her skin. Damon appeared, his notebook in hand, his smirk infuriatingly charming. Mistake number 4, he said, pointing to a crooked napkin. You know the deal. She rolled her eyes, stepping close, her heart racing as she leaned in, her lips brushing his cheek, warm and faintly stubbled. The contact sent a jolt through her, and she pulled back, glaring. Happy now, boss man? His eyes darkened, his voice low. Not nearly. He turned, leaving her breathless, the air crackling with unspoken tension. Harper gripped the table, muttering, Damn you, Damon Whitaker. She was playing his game, but the rules were shifting, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to win or lose herself in it. The Morristown mansion glowed under a late afternoon sun, its marble halls catching the light like a cathedral of wealth. Harper Lane moved through it with a mop, her curls bouncing as she scrubbed the dining room floor, the scent of lemon polish sharp in the air. 2 weeks had passed since the Asbury Park gala, where Damon Whitaker's hand had brushed hers under a sunset sky. His confession about Lydia Hamilton, his ex-fiancée, hanging between them like a storm cloud. The kiss contract was still in play, a ridiculous game where every mistake Harper made cost her a kiss, logged in Damon's infuriating notebook. But the game was no longer just a game, each kiss on his cheek. His forehead left her breathless, the air between them charged with a heat she couldn't ignore. Harper paused, leaning on the mop, her silver charm necklace glinting against her skin. The memory of Damon's voice, low and raw, echoed in her mind. "You're dangerous, Harper Lane. Dangerous." She was just a Newark girl trying to pay her bills, not fall for a cold-hearted lawyer with eyes that saw right through her. She muttered Nicky Giovanni's words to herself. "I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal," a mantra to keep her grounded. But her heart wasn't listening, and that scared her more than Mildred's glares. Her phone buzzed, Lila Brooks' name flashing on the screen. Harper's pulse quickened. Lila, the Morristown editor, had offered her a chance to write about Newark for a magazine, a shot at something bigger than mopping floors. She answered, bracing herself. "Harper, your draft's good." "Lila," said her voice crisp but skeptical. "But the board wants a full feature. 5,000 words on Newark's cultural soul. Jazz food people. Deadline's 2 weeks. Can you handle it, or is this too big for you?" Harper's jaw tightened at the doubt in Lila's tone, a subtle jab at her, as a black woman from a rough city. "I've got this," she said, her voice firm. "You'll have the best damn feature you've ever read." Lila paused, then said, "Impress us, Harper. Don't waste this." The call ended, leaving Harper with a mix of fire and fear. She could write about Newark's jazz clubs and cornbread stands in her sleep, but the pressure to prove herself to Lila, to the board, to herself, was crushing. She needed this gig, not just for the money, but to show she was more than a maid in a mansion. The tension in the mansion thickened when Nia Carter visited, her braids pulled high, her eyes sharp with Newark grit. She lounged in the kitchen, munching on Harper's cornbread, her voice low. "Vanessa reads at it again," Nia said, scrolling her phone. "She's spreading rumors online, saying you're Damon's distraction, messing with his big lawyer deals. Watch your back, sis." Harper's stomach twisted, Vanessa's venom from the gala still fresh. "Let her talk," she said, trying to sound unbothered. "I'm not here to play her games." Nia raised an eyebrow. "And Damon? You're still playing this kiss game with him?" "Girl, you're in deep and I don't like it. He's got baggage. Lydia, his ex, broke him. What if you're just a rebound?" Harper's hand tightened on her mop, Nia's words hitting a nerve. "I'm not anybody's rebound," she snapped, but doubt crept in. Was she just a distraction for Damon, a way to forget Lydia? The thought gnawed at her, especially after overhearing Mildred whisper to a maid about poor Mr. Whitaker, never over his fiancée. Harper pushed it down, focusing on her article, but the seed of insecurity took root. That evening, while dusting the study, Harper stumbled on an email left open on Damon's laptop, a careless mistake for a meticulous lawyer. It was from Vanessa to a rival firm leaking details of Damon's upcoming merger with a note. "He's distracted by his new toy. Now's the time to strike." Harper's blood ran cold. Vanessa wasn't just spreading rumors, she was sabotaging Damon's career, using Harper as the scapegoat. She had to warn him, even if it meant stepping into his orbit again. The opportunity came at a formal dinner in the dining hall, a glittering affair for Morristown's elite. Harper served wine, her navy dress swapped for a black uniform, her curls tamed into a bun, The silver charm necklace, her only rebellion. The guests' chatter, Stocks Estates politics grated on her, their glances sliding over her like she was invisible. Vanessa was there, her red gown a bold statement, her smile sharp as she leaned close to a board member, whispering. Harper caught her eye, and Vanessa's lips curled a silent challenge. Damon sat at the head, his black suit sharp, his eyes scanning the room. When they landed on Harper, they softened a flicker of warmth that made her heart skip. She seized her chance, slipping to his side as she refilled his glass. "We need to talk," she whispered, her voice low. "Vanessa's leaking your merger details. I saw an email. She's setting you up." His jaw tightened, but his response was cold. "I don't need you playing hero, Harper. I handle my own business." His tone cut, dismissing her like she was just the help, not the woman who'd kissed him under his ridiculous contract. Her chest burned, hurt, flaring. "I'm not playing anything," she hissed, keeping her voice low. "I'm trying to help you, but fine, handle it yourself." She turned away, her hands shaking as she poured wine. The room's chatter, a dull roar in her ears. Vanessa's smirk across the table felt like a slap, and Damon's silence hurt worse than any of her mistakes. The tension boiled over that night in the study. Harper found Damon alone, a glass of whiskey in hand, the firelight casting shadows on his face, his shirt unbuttoned at the collar. She stormed in her apron, discarded her curls loose, her eyes blazing. "You don't get to brush me off like that," she said, her voice trembling with anger and something deeper. "I told you about Vanessa, because I care, Damon. But if you think I'm just some maid, you can ignore. You're wrong." He stood closing the distance, his presence overwhelming. "You think I don't see you?" he said, his voice low, raw. "You're under my skin, Harper, every damn day. But I don't need you fighting my battles." Her breath caught his words, a spark in the dark. "Then what do you need me for?" she demanded, stepping closer, her hands clenched. "Your stupid kiss contract, a distraction from Lydia. Tell me, because I'm tired of guessing." His eyes darkened, a storm brewing. "You're not a distraction," he said, his voice dropping to a growl. "You're everything I'm afraid to want." He reached for her, his hand cupping her cheek, thumb brushing her jaw, sending a shiver through her. The firelight danced on her skin, her curls a soft frame, the silver charm necklace glinting. His other hand slid to her waist, pulling her close, his fingers pressing through her dress, feeling the curve of her hip. The air crackled thick with need, his whiskey-scented breath mingling with hers. Their lips crashed together, a kiss born of anger and longing. His mouth was hot, urgent tasting of whiskey, and want, his hand tangling in her curls. Tugging gently, Harper's hands found his chest, her fingers curling into his shirt, grazing the taut skin beneath, feeling the rapid thud of his heart. A soft moan escaped her, lost in the fire's crackle, the room shrinking to just them. His lips trailed to her jaw, grazing her skin, sending sparks down her spine, the scent of his cologne, sandalwood and cedar enveloping her. Her nails scraped lightly against his chest, drawing a low groan from him, the sound vibrating through her. But doubt surged, Vanessa's taunts, and Lydia's ghost flooding her mind. She loved him. God, she loved him. But love wasn't enough, if he couldn't see her as more than a game. She pushed him back, her voice breaking. "I love you, Damon, but I won't stay where I'm not wanted. I'm not Lydia, and I'm not your distraction." Tears welled, but she held her chin high, unyielding. His eyes widened, shock and pain flashing across his face. "Harper, you're not," he started, but she cut him off, her voice steady, despite the ache. "I deserve to be loved, not played with." She unclasped her silver charm necklace, placing it on his desk with a note scrawled on a napkin. I'm worth more than your contract. She turned her heels, echoing on the hardwood tears, blurring her vision. As she fled the study, the mansion's silence swallowed her, and she didn't look back. Harper returned to Newark the next day, the city's jazz and cornbread, a bittersweet comfort. She took a job at a bookstore on Broad Street, the creak of shelves and musty pages, a refuge from the pain. Her apartment with its peeling walls and creaky bed felt like a cage, but she threw herself into Lila's article, writing about Newark's soul, its music, its people, its fight. Amara, her mother, visited, her warm eyes, seeing through Harper's bravado. "You're carrying a wound, baby," Amara said, her voice rich with the strength of a woman who'd marched for civil rights. "Love's a risk, but you're stronger than fear. You're a Lane woman. Don't let anyone dim your light." Harper nodded, tears stinging, but Amara's words took root. That night at a jazz club, she read Nicky Giovanni's choices to a small crowd, her voice steady. "If I can't do what I want to do, then my job is to not do what I don't want to do." The applause was soft, but real, and Harper felt a spark reignite, a reminder of who she was. Phenomenal, divine, unapologetic. But Marcus Tate found her at the club, his kind smile tinged with urgency. "Damon's a wreck, Harper," he said, voice low. "He's drinking too much, losing focus, the boards circling and Vanessa's feeding them lies. He loves you, but he's scared. Lydia broke him, and he's terrified of losing you too." Harper's heart twisted, Marcus's words slicing through her armor. "He had his chance," she said, but her voice wavered, the memory of Damon's kiss, angry, desperate, real, burning bright. She wasn't sure what she'd do, but as she walked home under Newark's neon lights, the city's pulse echoing her own, she knew one thing. She wasn't done fighting, not for herself, and maybe not for him. Newark's heartbeat pulsed through its neon-lit streets. The hum of jazz clubs and the sizzle of cornbread stands a stark contrast to the hollow ache in Harper Lane's chest. A week had passed since she'd fled the Whitaker estate in Morristown, leaving behind her silver charm necklace and a note scrawled on a napkin. "I'm worth more than your contract." The memory of Damon Whitaker's kiss, angry, desperate tasting of whiskey and want, burned like a brand, but so did his silence when she'd bared her heart. She'd told him she loved him, and he'd let her walk away. Now back in her cramped apartment on Broad Street with peeling walls and a creaky bed, Harper was trying to piece herself together. The bookstore on 125th Street had become her refuge, its shelves of worn novels and poetry, a shield against the pain. She worked the register, her curls tied back, her brown eyes scanning pages of Nicky Giovanni's Cotton Candy on a rainy day, when no one was looking. "I want to be loved," she whispered. The poet's words echoing her own longing. Her mother, Amara, had visited days ago, her voice warm with the strength of a woman who'd faced Newark's storms. "You're a Lane, Harper," Amara had said, her eyes fierce. "You don't dim your light for anyone, not even a man who can't see it." Harper had nodded, tears stinging, but the doubt lingered. Had she been a fool to love Damon, to believe their kiss contract was more than a game? Her phone buzzed. Naya, Carter's name flashing. Harper answered, bracing for her best friend's fire. "Girl, you okay?" Nia's voice was sharp with concern. "You've been ghosting me since you left that mansion." And heads up, Vanessa Reed's still running her mouth, posting online that you ran because you couldn't handle Damon's world. She's trying to tank his merger too, leaking more emails to his rivals. Harper's grip tightened. Vanessa's venom a fresh wound. "Let her try," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'm done with her games, and I'm done with him." Nia snorted. "Done." "You're not fooling me, Harper. I saw how you looked when you talked about him. You love him, and that's why you're hurting. Question is, what are you going to do about it?" Harper sighed, rubbing her charmless neck. "I'm writing. Lila Brooks wants my Newark feature in a week. If I nail it, I'm out of the maid game for good. That's what I'm doing, betting on me. That's my girl, Nia said, pride in her tone. But if you need me to throw hands at Vanessa, just say the word. I'm coming by the bookstore tomorrow. The call ended, but Nia's words stirred a fire in Harper. She wasn't just a maid or a Newark girl to be dismissed. She was a writer, a dreamer, a phenomenal woman. Lila's challenge was her chance to prove it, and she poured her soul into the article, weaving stories of Newark's jazz joints. Its cornbread stands, its people who rose despite the odds, but every word felt like a battle. Her heart torn between the future she wanted and the man she couldn't forget. The storm broke on a humid evening when Lydia Hamilton appeared at the mansion like a ghost from Damon's past. Harper had been summoned back to Morristown to retrieve her final paycheck. Mildred's insistence, not Damon's. She stepped into the dining hall, her denim jacket damp from a drizzle, her curls frizzing her heart heavy. The room was quiet, the chandelier's light dim, and Damon stood near the window, his black shirt unbuttoned at the collar, his eyes distant. Before Harper could speak, the front door opened and Lydia walked in. Tall blonde and polished in a cream dress. Lydia was everything Harper wasn't. Elegant, poised, a woman who belonged in this world. Her blue eyes softened as she saw Damon. "I needed to see you," she said, her voice smooth, practiced. "I'm sorry, Damon. I was wrong to leave you. I thought I wanted freedom, but I miss us. Can we talk? Maybe start over?" Harper's heart stopped, her breath catching like she'd been punched. She stood frozen, half hidden by the doorway as Damon's face tightened, his jaw clenching. "Lydia," he said, his voice low. "There's nothing to start over. You made your choice." Lydia stepped closer, her hand touching his arm, her voice pleading. "I've changed. I'm working on a project, a design firm, and I need your support. For old time's sake." She leaned in her arms, wrapping around him in a hug, her head resting on his chest. Damon stiffened, but he didn't push her away. Not immediately. Harper's world shattered. The sight of them, Lydia's elegance against Damon's strength, was a knife to her heart. She'd been a fool thinking she could compete with a ghost who'd owned him first. Tears burned, but she refused to let them fall. She turned her sneakers silent on the marble and slipped out the drizzle outside, turning to a downpour. In the kitchen, she scribbled a resignation letter on a scrap of paper. "I've paid all my kiss debts, Damon. Be happy with Lydia." She left it on the counter, her hands shaking, and ran into the rain, the storm swallowing her sobs. Back in Newark, Harper threw herself into her writing, the bookstore's quiet, a stark contrast to the mansion's grandeur. Lila's deadline loomed, and she crafted her feature with a ferocity born of pain, her words painting Newark's soul, its jazz that healed its cornbread, that warmed its people who rose. The article was good, maybe her best, and when she sent it to Lila, the editor's reply was swift. "This is phenomenal, Harper. The board's impressed. We'll publish it, and I want you for a regular column." The victory should have felt like triumph, but it was hollow without Damon's dimpled smile, his teasing voice, his touch that had set her alight. Nia showed up at the bookstore, her braids swinging, her eyes blazing. "Vanessa's at it again," she said, showing Harper her phone. "She's posted emails claiming Damon's merger's failing, because of you. She's trying to bury him, and you're caught in the crossfire." Harper's jaw clenched, anger surging. "She's using me to get to him," she said, her voice low. "I'm done running, Nia. I need to face this." Nia grinned fierce. "That's the Harper I know. Go get your man, or at least make sure Vanessa eats her words." Harper's resolve hardened, but doubt lingered. Could she face Damon knowing Lydia was back, knowing she'd bared her heart and lost? She spent the night pacing her apartment, the rain tapping the windows like a jazz rhythm, Amara's words echoing, "Don't dim your light." By morning, she'd made her decision. She'd go to Morristown, not to beg, but to close this chapter, to prove she was enough with or without him. The rain hadn't stopped a steady drizzle soaking Newark streets as Harper stepped out, her jacket clinging to her skin. She hailed a cab to Morristown, her heart a drumbeat, her curls damp and wild. But fate intervened before she could reach the mansion. On Broad Street, under a flickering neon sign, a black SUV pulled up its headlights, cutting through the storm. The door opened and Damon Whitaker stepped out, rain streaming down his dark hair, his white shirt soaked, clinging to his chest like a second skin. In his hand was his notebook, the kiss ledger and Harper's resignation letter crumpled and wet. "Harper!" He rasped, his voice rough, desperate over the rain's roar. "You're wrong about Lydia, about me, about everything." She crossed her arms, her heart pounding, rain dripping from her lashes. "Wrong. I saw her hugging you, Damon. Don't tell me it was a misunderstanding. I'm not that naive. If you want her, go. I quit. We're done." Her voice cracked, but she held her ground, Newark's neon bathing her in a defiant glow. Damon shook his head, stepping closer, the rain pouring off his coat. "You think I want Lydia?" She came to apologize, to pitch some project. I said no. I pushed her away the moment you walked in, but you ran before I could explain. He held up the notebook, its pages soggy, and tore it apart, the scraps falling like confetti. "You've paid all your debts, 17 kisses. But I don't want you to stop. I want you, Harper, forever." Her breath caught tears mixing with rain as his words sank in. He stepped closer, his hand brushing her cheek, wiping away a tear, his touch warm against her cold skin. The neon light caught his eyes, dark and earnest, and the scent of his cologne, sandalwood and cedar, mingled with the rain's earthy tang. "I turned down $1 million deal to protect you," he said, voice raw. "Vanessa tried to use your name to ruin me, and I wouldn't let her. You're worth more than any contract, any empire." Harper's heart thundered the truth of his sacrifice, breaking her walls. She reached for him, and he pulled her into his arms, their lips crashing together in a kiss that drowned out the storm. His mouth was hot, urgent tasting of rain and need, his hands sliding to her waist, pressing through her soaked jacket, feeling the curve of her hips. The rain's rhythm faded, replaced by the thud of their hearts, loud as a Newark drumline. Her fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer, a soft moan escaping her as his lips grazed her jaw, sending sparks down her spine. Her nails scraped lightly against his neck, drawing a low groan from him, the sound vibrating through at her. He pulled back, forehead resting against hers, breath ragged. "Don't go," he whispered, his lips brushing her ear, his voice a plea. "I love you, Harper Lane. I'm done being afraid." She searched his eyes, her voice trembling but firm. "You better mean it, Damon, because I'm not Lydia, and I won't settle for half a heart." She rose on her toes, kissing him again, slower, deeper, sealing a promise. Under the rain-soaked sky, they stood there, wrapped in each other, the neon sign flickering above Newark's pulse, echoing their own. Harper pulled back, a smile breaking through her tears. "I'm giving you a chance, Mr. Lawyer, but you've got work to do. No more kiss contracts. Prove you're all in." He nodded, his hand cupping her face, rain streaming down his smile. "Every day, Harper. For you." Back at her apartment, they sat on her creaky bed towels draped over their shoulders, the rain tapping the windows. Harper held a mug of cocoa, her curls damp, her heart lighter than it had been in weeks. "I'm not moving back to the mansion yet," she said, her voice soft but resolute. "I've got Lila's article to finish, a name to make. But I want you with me, Damon, as my partner, not my boss." He kissed her forehead, his voice a vow. "I'm here, Harper, for us." Outside, the rain slowed Newark's neon lights, casting a soft glow through the window. Harper leaned into him, her head on his shoulder, the weight of doubt lifting. They'd face the storm, and though Lydia's shadow lingered, Harper knew she was enough phenomenal, divine and ready to fight for a love that was real. Newark's neon lights flickered through Harper Lane's apartment window, their glow a faint echo of the fire that had reignited in her heart. A week had passed since the rain-soaked night when Damon Whitaker tore up their kiss contract and vowed to love her for real, his words and touch, hot, urgent rain-drenched, sealing a promise under Broad Street's stormy sky. Now, back in Morristown's Whitaker estate, Harper was trying to navigate a new reality. She wasn't just a maid anymore, but a woman Damon saw as his equal, his partner. Yet doubt lingered, a whisper of Lydia Hamilton's shadow, and the fear that love this fierce couldn't last. Harper stood in the mansion's kitchen stirring a pot of collard greens, the earthy aroma mingling with the cornbread baking in the oven. Her silver charm necklace returned by. Damon glinted against her skin, a reminder of her Newark roots and her mother, Amara's strength. She hummed Ella Fitzgerald's Summertime, the jazz melody grounding her, but her mind was on Damon, his dimpled smile, his sandalwood cologne, the way his eyes softened when she teased him. Their kiss in the rain had changed everything, but Harper wasn't ready to let her guard down completely. "Prove it, Damon," she'd told him, and he'd been trying with quiet gestures, a coffee left on her desk, a lingering touch when she passed him in the hall, a promise to face Vanessa's schemes together. Her phone buzzed, Lila Brooks's name flashing. Harper answered, her heart skipping. Lila's article about Newark was her ticket out of debt and into a writing career. "Harper, your feature's a hit," Lila said, her voice crisp but warm. "The board wants you at a publishing summit in Napa Valley next week. It's a big deal. Editors, agents, the works. They're talking a book deal if you impress them. Can you handle the spotlight?" Harper's breath caught pride and pressure colliding. "I was born for the spotlight." "Lila," she said, her Newark grit shining through. "I'll be there and I'll bring my A game." Lila chuckled. "Good. Don't let me down." The call ended, but Harper's excitement was tempered by Nia Carter's warning, delivered over cornbread the day before Vanessa's still out there. Nia had set her braids swinging as she scrolled her phone. "She's leaking more of Damon's merger details, trying to paint you as the reason he's slipping. You're walking into a snake pit, sis." Harper's jaw clenched. Vanessa's venom, a constant thorn. She wasn't just fighting for her future. Now she was fighting for Damon, for them. And Napa Valley, with its rolling vineyards and high stakes, was the perfect place to shut Vanessa down for good. The flight to Napa Valley was a blur. Harper's nerves buzzing as she sat beside Damon. His presence, a steady anchor. His hand brushed hers on the armrest, a silent reassurance, and she caught his eye, his brown gaze warm but intense. "You're gonna kill it," he said, his voice low, a smile tugging at his lips. "Just don't spill wine on any editors." She rolled her eyes, smirking. "Keep talking, lawyer, and I'll spill wine on you." But her heart fluttered, the memory of his rain-soaked kiss lingering like a melody. Napa greeted them with golden hills and the sweet tang of fermenting grapes, the air warm and heavy with promise. The publishing summit was held at a sprawling vineyard estate, its stone walls draped in ivy, the courtyard alive with the clink of glasses and the murmur of elite conversation. Harper wore a tailored emerald dress borrowed from Nia, its silk hugging her curves, her curls loose, the silver charm necklace glinting. She felt out of place among the polished crowd, but Damon's hand on her lower back, warm through the fabric, grounded her. Lila met them at the entrance, her sharp eyes assessing Harper. "The board's watching," she said. "Pitch your book idea. Newark's cultural resilience jazz to cornbread. Make them feel it. And Harper, don't let Vanessa distract you." Harper's stomach twisted. Vanessa was here, her red gown, a beacon of trouble, her smile sharp as she schmoozed with editors, board members. Harper spotted Marcus Tate, Damon's best friend, across the courtyard, his kind smile a quiet support. "She's up to something," Marcus warned, nodding at Vanessa. "I found another leaked email. She's pushing the board to pull Damon's merger, saying he's unstable because of you." Damon's jaw tightened, his hand brushing Harper's arm. "We'll handle her," he said, his voice firm. "Together." The summit's main event was a panel where Harper pitched her book standing before a room of mostly white editors. She channeled Newark's fire, her voice steady as she spoke of jazz clubs that healed cornbread that warmed, and a city that rose against odds. She quoted Nikki Giovanni. "I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal. That's Newark," she said, "and that's me." The room erupted in applause. Lila's nod, a rare stamp of approval. "We want the book," an editor said. "Name your terms." Harper's heart soared, but the victory was short-lived. Vanessa cornered her in the courtyard, her voice dripping venom. "A book deal. Cute. But you're still just the help playing dress-up. Damon's board is done with him, and you're the reason." Harper's fists clenched, but she grinned her Newark grit, unyielding. "Keep talking, Vanessa. The only thing falling here is your credibility." She turned away, but Vanessa's words stung, feeding her fear that she was a liability to Damon. The confrontation came at a private board meeting Damon had arranged to secure his merger. Harper, Naya, and Marcus had spent hours digging, and Naya's tech skills uncovered a trove of Vanessa's emails, proof she'd been leaking sensitive data to rivals. They burst into the boardroom, a sleek glass-walled space overlooking the vineyards, as Vanessa spun lies about Damon's instability. Harper took the lead, her voice cutting through the room. "Vanessa's been betraying you," she said, holding up a tablet with the emails. "She's the one tanking this deal, not Damon." Marcus projected the evidence, and the board's murmurs turned to outrage. Vanessa's face paled, her smile crumbling. "This is a setup," she stammered. But the chairman's cold voice silenced her. "You're done. Miss Reed. Security will see you out." As Vanessa was escorted away, her glare burned into Harper, a promise of revenge. But Harper stood tall, her chin high, Newark's fire in her veins. The board turned to Damon, their trust restored, and he addressed them with a steadiness that made Harper's heart swell. "I've made mistakes," he said, his gaze flicking to her. "But I'm here to lead, and I'm stronger for it because of her." He nodded at Harper, and the board applauded the merger secured. Outside in the vineyard's golden light, Damon pulled Harper aside, his voice low. "You were incredible," he said, his hand brushing hers, sending sparks through her. "Thank you, Harper, for believing in me." She smiled, her voice soft but firm. "I didn't do it for you, Damon. I did it for us." Their fingers intertwined, the warmth of his touch, a quiet promise, but the day wasn't over. That night, a freak blizzard swept through Napa Valley, a rare storm blanketing the vineyards in snow. The summit was cancelled, and Harper and Damon took shelter in a small hotel, its rustic charm a far cry from Morristown's grandeur. The lobby was warm, a low sui crackling, and Harper stood by the window, watching snow swirl under the streetlights, her heart a tangle of hope and fear. Lila's book deal was a dream come true, but Damon's confession in the rain. "I love you." Harper was the dream she hadn't dared to want. Could she trust it? Trust him after Lydia's shadow and Vanessa's schemes? A knock at her door broke her thoughts. She opened it to find Damon Snow dusting his dark hair, his coat damp, his brown eyes fierce with resolve. In his hand was her resignation, letter crumpled but intact, and a new sheet of paper, a handwritten note. "I'm not letting you go," he said, his voice rough, stepping inside the scent of his cologne, sandalwood, and cedar. mingling with the snow's crisp tang. You're not just my partner, Harper. You're my everything. I walked away from a billion-dollar deal to protect you because you're worth more than any empire. Her breath caught tears welling as his words shattered her doubts. He handed her the note, a simple vow. I love you. Harper Lane. No contracts, just us. She reached for him, and he pulled her into his arms, their lips crashing together in a kiss that warmed the cold night. His mouth was hot, urgent tasting of snow and need, his hands sliding to her waist, pressing through her sweater, feeling the curve of her hips. The low suoi's glow bathed them, illuminating her curls, her skin, the silver charm necklace glinting. His fingers brushed her shoulders, peeling off her sweater, tracing the soft warmth of her skin, sending shivers through her. Her hands slid under his shirt, grazing the taut muscles of his chest, her nails scraping lightly, drawing a low groan from him, the sound vibrating against her lips. The storm's howl faded, replaced by their breaths, ragged and synced the crackle of the fire, a soft counterpoint. His lips trailed to her neck, grazing her pulse, the sensation sparking like electricity. Harper's fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer, a soft moan escaping her lost in the fire's warmth. They sank onto the couch, his hand cupping her face, his thumb brushing her lips, the intimacy a language of its own. They didn't cross the final line, but the closeness, the way his heartbeat thudded under her palm, the way her skin burned under his touch, spoke louder than words. He pulled back, forehead resting against hers, breath heavy. I'm yours, Harper, he whispered, his voice a vow. No more games, no more fear. She searched his eyes, her voice trembling, but sure. You better mean it, Damon, because I'm all in and I don't do half measures. She kissed him again, slower, deeper, sealing their bond. They sat by the low suoi, wrapped in a blanket, the snow falling outside. Harper sipped cocoa, her curls loose, her heart full. I'm not moving back to Morristown yet, she said, her voice soft but resolute. I've got a book to write, a name to make. But I want you with me, Damon, as my equal, not my boss. He kissed her temple, his voice steady. I'm here, Harper, for every page, every fight, every kiss. The blizzard raged, but inside warmth bloomed, a love built on truth, not contracts. Harper leaned into him, her head on his chest, his heartbeat a steady rhythm. They'd faced Vanessa, Lydia's shadow, and their own fears, but the future was theirs. As the fire crackled, Harper whispered Giovanni's words to herself. I am so perfect, so divine. With Damon by her side, she believed it, ready to write their story. One fearless step at a time, the key, west sunset, painted the sky in fiery corals and golds, its reflection shimmering on the turquoise waves that lapped at the shore. Harper Lane stood barefoot on a private beach, the warm sand slipping between her toes, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of sea salt and blooming hibiscus. Her white lace dress, simple yet elegant, hugged her curves, its delicate layers swaying as she adjusted the silver charm necklace at her throat, a gift from her mother, Amara, a piece of Newark's heart. Her curls cascaded freely, framing her radiant brown eyes, and a smile played on her lips, nervous but fierce. Today she'd married Damon Whitaker, not as a contract bride or a maid, but as his equal, his love in a ceremony that was theirs alone. A year had passed since the blizzard in Napa Valley, where Damon had bared his soul by the lo suoi, his vow to love her forever. Sealed with a kiss that burned brighter than the flames, they'd faced Vanessa Reed's schemes, Lydia Hamilton's shadow, and their own fears emerging stronger, bound by a love that was loud, chaotic, and undeniably real. Now, under a canopy of palm trees strung with lanterns, Harper felt like she'd stepped into a dream, one where a Newark girl could claim a future as bright as the stars above. The beach buzzed with life, a small gathering of their closest allies. Nia Carter, Harper's best friend, adjusted a hibiscus flower in her braids, her grin wide. "You look like a queen, sis," Nia said, her eyes sparkling. "Newark's proud. But if Damon messes this up, I'm still throwing hands," Harper laughed, hugging her. "Noted, but he's earned his keep. You're still my ride or die, though." Marcus Tate, Damon's best friend and lawyer, stood nearby, his warm smile a quiet anchor. Amara Lane. Harper's mother held a copy of Nikki Giovanni's poetry, her silver braids gleaming her presence, a testament to the strength that had shaped Harper. Lila Brooks, the editor who'd championed Harper's writing, mingled with guests, her pride evident. Harper's book, Newark's Soul Jazz, Cornbread and Resilience, had soared to bestseller lists, its pages a love letter to her city that resonated nationwide. She wasn't just a freelancer anymore. She was a voice, a storyteller, a phenomenal woman. But shadows lingered. Vanessa Reed, though disgraced after Napa had resurfaced online posting vicious rumors about Damon's unstable leadership and Harper's opportunistic rise, the attacks stung, threatening to tarnish their joy. But Harper had learned to rise above. Today was about love, not hate, and she'd face any storm with Damon by her side. The ceremony was set on a stretch of beach framed by coconut palms, the waves a gentle soundtrack. White chairs adorned with seashells held their guests, Newark friends, Key West locals, and a few of Damon's trusted colleagues. Harper's father, absent for years, had sent a letter of regret, but Amara's presence filled that void. "You're my heart, baby," Amara had whispered, handing her a bouquet of white carnations. "Shine today." As a steel drum band played a soulful reggae rendition of Bob Marley's Is This Love, Harper stepped onto the petal-strewn path, her bare feet sinking into the sand. The crowd hushed, but her eyes found Damon immediately. He stood at the altar, not in the severe black suit of their first clash, but in a light gray linen suit, his dark hair tousled by the breeze, a nervous smile breaking through his usual stoicism. His brown eyes locked on hers, bright with a love so unguarded it stole her breath. She grinned, calling out under her breath, "Ready to get slapped for life." Mr. Lawyer laughter rippled and Damon shook his head, his dimple flashing. "Try it, Miss Lane." But every slap cost a kiss, still in the contract. His voice was teasing, but his eyes said she was his universe. The officiant, a Key West local with a warm drawl, began, but Harper and Damon only had eyes for each other. When it was time for vows, Harper went first, her voice steady but thick with emotion. "Damon Whitaker, I vow to love you, bicker with you, and spill coffee on your fancy papers whenever I feel like it." Laughter rose and she grinned through tears. "I vow to make you laugh every day, even when I'm driving you crazy, and to stand by you through every storm because you're my home. And if Lydia or anyone tries to hug you again, I'll slap you, then kiss you to make it right." Damon's laugh was soft, his eyes glistening. He gripped her hands, his voice trembling but sure. "Harper Lane, I vow to survive every slap, every broken cup, and every argument. I'll lose spectacularly. I vow to make you breakfast every Sunday, even if you burn the kitchen down. And I vow to love you not because you paid any kiss debt, but because you're the only one who's ever made me feel alive." He leaned in, whispering for her alone, "I love you, Harper, forever." They exchanged rings, simple silver bands engraved with tiny hibiscus blooms, and the crowd erupted in cheers. The officiant grinned. "By the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. Kiss her quick, Damon, before she changes her mind and slaps you." Damon pulled Harper close, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that was slow, deep, a promise woven into every touch. The low soy's glow from Napa was gone, replaced by the sunset's warmth, her curls catching the light, the silver charm necklace glinting. His hands slid to her lower back, pressing through the lace, feeling the curve of her spine sending sparks through her. Her fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer, a soft moan escaping her lost in the waves' rhythm. The scent of his cologne, sandalwood and cedar, mixed with the sea's briny tang enveloping her. The crowd cheered, but the world was just them, two souls bound by a love that had conquered all. The reception was a Key West celebration, tables draped in white linens laden with conch fritters, key lime pie and mango salsa. The flavors a nod to the island's vibrancy. Lanterns swayed, casting golden light, and the reggae band played a lively beat, drawing guests to a dance floor on the sand. Damon stayed close, his hand entwined with Harper's, or resting on her back, as if afraid she'd vanish. He laughed freely, his deep chuckle blending with the music, even joining Naya and the Newark crew in a clumsy dance that had Harper doubled over with laughter. "You're terrible at this," she teased, pulling him back to her, her arms around his neck. "Blame the teacher," he shot back, spinning her, his hands warm on her waist. His dimple flashing, sunset bathed them, her skin glowing, his eyes soft with adoration. But trouble loomed. Lila approached her face, tense, showing them her phone. "Vanessa's at it again," she said, displaying a gossip blog post, Damon Whitaker's unstable leadership, fueled by Newark opportunists. The article smeared Harper's book as a publicity stunt, and Damon's merger as a failure gaining traction online. "The publisher's nervous," Lila said. "This could hurt your book sales." Harper's stomach dropped, but Damon's grip on her hand tightened. "She's not ruining our day," he said, his voice firm. "We'll shut her down together." Naya, overhearing, grinned wickedly. "I've got dirt," she said, pulling out her laptop. "Vanessa's been dodging taxes, financial records. I dug up, want to leak them." Harper hesitated, her conscience tugging. "No," she said, her voice steady. "We're better than that. Let's tell our story, the truth, not her lies. People will see through her." Damon nodded, pride in his eyes. "A podcast," he suggested. "Miami vibes is big down here." "They'll jump at our story," Lila agreed, arranging an interview that night in a small Key West studio. Harper and Damon sat before microphones, their voices weaving a tale of spilled coffee, kiss debts, and a love that rose above pain. Harper spoke of Newark's resilience, her mother's lessons, and the fire that had carried her. Damon admitted his guilt over Lydia, his fear of losing Harper, and the moment he'd chosen her over his empire. "She's not just my wife," he said, his voice thick, squeezing her hand. "She's my reason." The podcast went viral, drowning out Vanessa's post. Listeners flooded social media with support calling Harper a phenomenal woman and Damon a man reborn. The publisher doubled down on Harper's book, and Lila secured a memoir deal. Vanessa's schemes collapsed. Her tax records leaked anonymously. Nia's doing, no doubt, and she faded into obscurity. But the true victory came at dusk, as Harper and Damon slipped away to the water's edge, the reception's reggae beat fading behind them. The moon rose, casting silver on the waves, the air thick with salt and hibiscus. Harper's lace dress shimmered her curls, catching the light, and Damon's gray suit was soft against her as he pulled her close. His hand rested on her lower back, fingers tracing the curve through the lace, sending a warm shiver through her. "You were unstoppable today," he said, his voice low, his eyes tracing her face, catching the way the moonlight danced on her skin. "We were unstoppable," she corrected, her fingers brushing his jaw, feeling the faint stubble, her touch lingering. "But we're not done fighting, are we?" he chuckled, his lips grazing her ear, his breath hot teasing. Not a chance, but with you I'm ready for anything. Their lips met a kiss, slow and deep, a vow sealed by the sea. The waves' rhythm blended with their breaths, his hands sliding to her hips, pressing gently, feeling the warmth through the lace. Harper's fingers slipped under his jacket, grazing his chest, her nails scraping lightly, drawing a soft groan from him, the sound vibrating against her lips. The moonlight illuminated their silhouettes, her curls a dark halo, his frame a steady anchor, the scent of his cologne sandalwood and cedar mixed with the sea enveloping her, a promise of forever. He pulled back, forehead touching hers, his voice a whisper. I love you, Harper. Always. I love you too, she said, her hand over his heart, feeling its steady beat. Forever. Damon surprised her, pulling a small box from his pocket. Inside was a silver pendant, etched with a hibiscus, a match for her charm necklace. For our new beginning, he said, clasping it around her neck. And for Newark, I'm funding a library wing at the Broad Street branch, a gift to the city that raised you. Harper's eyes welled, joy spilling over. You didn't have to, she whispered, throwing her arms around him, tears mixing with her smile. I wanted to, he said, kissing her forehead. Because you deserve it, and because our future starts with you. They returned to the reception, dancing under the stars, the reggae band playing No Woman, No Cry. Harper rested her head on his shoulder, his heartbeat, a rhythm she knew by heart. I thought love was supposed to be quiet, she murmured. But with you it's loud, messy and perfect. Damon tightened his arms, his voice low. Love's not gentle, Harper. But if it makes you shine, it's worth everything. They swayed the moon, bearing witness to a love that had conquered contracts, shadows, and storms. Harper whispered, Giovanni's words to herself. I am so perfect, so divine. With Damon, she believed it, their story a testament to courage, healing, and a love that burned brighter than any Key West sunset.